Before anything in your day has taken shape, there exists a moment of pure possibility, a window of stillness so brief that most people pass through it without ever recognizing its significance. Right now, before the external world begins flooding your awareness with its demands and distractions, you have something rare, the chance to consciously decide who you will be and what this day will become. This is not simply another morning arriving by default. This is the precise point where your inner state begins quietly designing the architecture of everything that follows. What you choose in this moment, the quality of awareness you bring, the feeling you allow to settle inside you, will shape your interactions, your perceptions, your decisions, and your experience in ways that will unfold throughout the hours ahead. So, before you reach for your phone, before the mental replay of responsibilities begins, before habit takes the wheel and carries you into autopilot, pause here. Rest in this. Let yourself actually inhabit the stillness rather than rushing through it toward whatever comes next. Because what comes next will be colored entirely by the state you choose to carry into it. This is not abstract philosophy. This is the practical, concrete reality of how experience is generated, from the inside outward, always, without exception. The quality of your day begins here, in this quiet space before the world has had a single chance to speak to you. There is a quality to the moments just after waking that carries unusual power. In that gentle transition between sleep and full wakefulness, your awareness is unusually open, not yet filtered by the accumulated weight of accumulated thought, not yet contracted around worries or plans, or the identity of yesterday. You exist briefly in a state of genuine receptivity. Your imagination is more sensitive than it will be at any other point in the day. Your emotional tone is more malleable, more responsive to deliberate direction. And what you allow to settle into your awareness during this window becomes the seed from which your entire day grows. This is not metaphor. It is the literal mechanism through which inner states generate outer experience. The mind is always scanning its environment for evidence that confirms what it already believes. And what it believes at the start of the day sets the filter through which every subsequent experience is perceived and interpreted. If you begin the day carrying a sense of heaviness, of struggle, of things being difficult or uncertain or threatening, the day will reliably provide confirmation of that. Not because the circumstances are uniquely bad, but because the filter ensures that what matches the inner state is what gets noticed, what gets amplified, what gets remembered. But if you begin grounded in something steadier, in calm, in clarity, in a quiet sense of trust and readiness, the same circumstances will present themselves differently. The same day will be experienced as something fundamentally unlike what it would have been through the other lens. Your reality is not being imposed on you from outside. It is being generated from within, not by circumstances, not by other people's behavior, not by what happened yesterday or what you fear might happen tomorrow. Every morning hands you a genuinely blank canvas, a fresh opportunity to impress something new upon the awareness that will then go on to shape every interaction and experience of the hours ahead. This is not simply an encouraging thought. It is the operational truth of how consciousness functions. Life does not happen to you as a separate force acting upon a passive recipient. Life reflects you, mirrors the inner state you are broadcasting, responds to the energy and expectation you are carrying, organizes itself around the assumption you are inhabiting, which means the power you are looking for in your circumstances has actually been located inside you all along. You are not small. You are not at the mercy of forces beyond your influence. You are awareness in motion, the source from which your experience continuously arises. And that source is accessible right now, in this morning stillness, before the noise of the day has had any opportunity to pull you away from it. So do not allow this moment to slip by unnoticed. Use it deliberately. Use it to return to the center of yourself before the world begins its daily attempt to pull you away from it. Who will you choose to be today? That question deserves more than a moment's consideration, because the answer you give, not in words, but in the actual inner state you inhabit, will determine the quality of every experience that follows. You are not stepping into a random sequence of events. You are stepping into a living reflection of the state you carry. Every conversation you will have today will be shaped by the energy you bring to it. Every decision will be filtered through the lens of whoever you have decided to be. Every challenge will feel different depending on whether you meet it from a place of groundedness and clarity or from a place of anxiety and reactivity. So before the day has a chance to tell you who you are, tell yourself, not in a superficial way, not as words repeated without feeling, but as a genuine choice of inner position. Choose peace, not because everything is certain to go smoothly, but because peace is the state from which you navigate most effectively. Choose confidence, not because you have eliminated all uncertainty, but because confidence is a posture you can inhabit by decision rather than by circumstance. Choose to release whatever yesterday deposited in you that no longer belongs to who you are today, because yesterday's identity is not a requirement. You are not obligated to carry it forward. Each morning is a genuine opportunity to step into a version of yourself that already exists within you, one that doesn't need to be created from scratch, only allowed to emerge. Before the world has a chance to speak to you this morning, speak to yourself with intention. Set the tone before circumstances attempt to set it for you. Let your internal dialogue become something deliberate rather than something that happens by default. Today I am calm. Today I move with focus and purpose. Today I expect things to unfold in my favor. Today I bring clarity and steadiness to everything I encounter. These are not hollow affirmations if they are felt rather than merely recited. The subconscious mind is not moved by words alone. It responds to the emotional reality underneath the words, to the feeling that accompanies them, the state of being they reflect. So do not simply say these things, inhabit them. Let the calm become something you actually feel settling through your body. Let the confidence become a genuine shift in how you are holding yourself physically and internally right now. Your subconscious will register the difference between a thought you are thinking and a state you are actually living in. It is the state, the sustained, emotionally real inner position that becomes the seed of your experience. The version of yourself you are choosing to be today already exists inside you. It does not need to be constructed. It needs only to be inhabited. And this quiet morning space, before the demands of the day have arrived, is the ideal moment to step into that version of yourself fully and deliberately. You are not walking into this day passively. You are shaping it, not through force or manipulation of circumstances, but through the quality of awareness and energy you carry into every moment. Your presence will affect every conversation you have today, every room you enter, every interaction you engage in. The way you think changes what you notice. The way you feel changes what you attract. The way you carry yourself changes how others respond to you and what opportunities present themselves. This is not abstract. It is the practical, observable truth of how human experience works. A mind rooted in calm does not get shaken by ordinary turbulence. A heart grounded in gratitude continuously finds more to appreciate. A spirit that begins its day aligned with something deeper moves through the inevitable complications of daily life with a steadiness that is genuinely different from the experience of someone who began the day reactive and ungrounded. You are the one who sets this tone. Not your circumstances, not the news, not the behavior of the people around you. You. And the tone you set in these quiet morning moments reverberates through every hour that follows in ways that are more significant than most people ever realize. So, carry this into your day, not as a technique you are applying, but as a truth you are living from. Because there is a profound difference between the two, and your experience will reflect exactly which one you have chosen. Let yourself settle now into a state of genuine openness, not the anxious openness of someone waiting for something they fear might not arrive, but the relaxed, trusting openness of someone who understands that what they need is already flowing toward them. This is not wishful thinking. It is the natural posture of someone who has genuinely understood that the inner state precedes the outer experience, that alignment comes before appearance, that receiving is possible only to the degree that you have made yourself genuinely available to it by releasing the contracted energy of worry and grasping. Today I welcome guidance. Today I welcome clarity. Today I welcome the people and the circumstances and the insights that belong to the path I have chosen. Feel your body respond to that openness. Notice where tension has been held and allow it to soften. This is the posture of someone who understands that life is genuinely abundant, that what is meant for you is not being withheld, that blessings are not scarce, that the universe is not indifferent to your well-being. From this place of openness, a deeper quality of stillness begins to grow. Not the empty silence of disconnection, but the full, grounded quiet of someone who has returned to the center of themselves, who has, even momentarily, stepped out of the noise and back into the source from which genuine clarity and genuine guidance arise. In this stillness, something important becomes apparent. You are not moving through this day alone. There is an intelligence that underlies the movement of everything, the same awareness that organizes the extraordinary complexity of the natural world with effortless precision, that keeps systems running and seasons turning and life continuously renewing itself. And that intelligence is not absent from your experience. It is present in it. It is available to you. It moves alongside you through every hour of every day, even in the moments when distraction or fear makes it temporarily invisible. Let this settle into your awareness as a genuine felt reality, not just an idea. You are guided today. You are supported today. The same principle that ensures the sun rises without your assistance is also at work in the unfolding of your life, organizing, arranging, preparing, moving things into position in ways that your conscious mind cannot always track or predict. When you move with this awareness, something changes in how you carry yourself. The urgency that comes from believing you must figure everything out yourself begins to relax. The fear that drives forced action begins to quiet. You become more present, more steady, more capable of perceiving and responding to what is actually in front of you, rather than to the imagined catastrophes your anxious mind might otherwise be generating. Fear cannot maintain its grip in the presence of genuine clarity and trust. When your identity is rooted in something deeper than circumstances, when you are no longer making your sense of security contingent on everything going exactly as you planned, fear loses the authority it once carried over your thinking, your decisions, and your experience. Today, in this state, doubt has no real power. Anxiety has no real authority, not because everything is certain to unfold without difficulty, but because your sense of who you are and your fundamental trust in the unfolding of your life are no longer dependent on difficulty being absent. Notice how your mind feels in this moment, quieter than usual, more spacious, less crowded with the competing noise of worry and reactivity. Thoughts that might ordinarily feel overwhelming begin to settle. You do not need to fight them or force them away. You simply return your attention to what is actually true, and from that ground, the anxious thoughts lose their charge naturally. Your thinking, when it flows from this state, becomes a genuine tool rather than a source of torment. Your decisions emerge from wisdom rather than from the pressure of unexamined fear. Your actions feel coherent and aligned rather than scattered and reactive. This steady quality of mind is among the most genuinely useful things you can bring into your day, far more valuable than any strategy or productivity system, because it changes the source from which everything else arises. Today is not a random collection of events that will happen to you. It is a sequence of moments unfolding with a coherence and a purpose that your limited perspective may not always be able to track in real time, but that becomes visible in hindsight with remarkable consistency. Every conversation, every unexpected turn, every apparent obstacle carries meaning, carries something that belongs to the larger unfolding of wherever you are heading, which means the energy you spend trying to control every outcome, predict every variable, and protect yourself from every possible unwelcome surprise is energy spent fighting something that does not need to be fought. Release that need, not passively, not by withdrawing your engagement and simply waiting for things to happen, but by trusting the intelligence that is already at work in your life while you bring your fullest and most grounded presence to each moment as it arrives. Let this bring a particular quality of peace, not the fragile peace of someone whose tranquility depends on everything going smoothly, but the deep and durable peace of someone who has made an internal agreement to trust the process regardless of what it looks like at any given moment. That peace is yours. It does not need to be earned or achieved. It only needs to be returned to. And returning to it right now, in this quiet space before the day begins, is one of the most powerful things you can do. Set your intention for this day, but set it not as a wish directed outward at circumstances you hope will cooperate, but as a clear inner decision about who you are choosing to be, regardless of what the circumstances do. Today I move with purpose. Today I bring clarity and patience to every moment. Today I choose to respond from my highest self rather than from reactive habit. Today I remain grounded in confidence even when uncertainty is present. Let these intentions become actual inner states rather than words you are reciting. Because there is a direct relationship between what you genuinely believe yourself to be and what you notice in your environment, what you expect to encounter, and therefore what you actually experience. The filter of identity is always active. Change the identity and you change the filter. Change the filter and you change what your experience consists of. Not because the outer world has magically rearranged itself, but because what you perceive, what you engage with, what registers as significant, and what passes by unnoticed is always shaped by who you believe yourself to be. You are not a passive observer of your experience. You are its active, creative source. Carry that truth into your day. Let it be the quiet foundation beneath every thought you think, every choice you make, every interaction you enter. And watch how differently the same world presents itself when you meet it from a different center. One of the deeper truths that this morning's stillness invites you to receive is that timing is not something happening to you. It is something arising through you. How often have you wondered why something hasn't arrived yet, or why something happened when it did, rather than sooner? The anxiety about timing assumes that time is an external force with its own agenda, indifferent to your inner state, operating according to rules that have nothing to do with you. But that is not how experience actually works. The appearance of what you desire in the external world is always tied to the state you are inhabiting internally. When something feels genuinely natural to you, when the reality of already having it has settled into your inner world with enough consistency and enough emotional depth to feel like a fact rather than a hope, that is when it begins to appear in external experience. Not because time finally decided to cooperate, but because you finally aligned with it. Consider a seed in the ground. It does not rush its growth. It does not doubt the process or dig itself up to check whether progress is happening. It develops in its own perfect sequence, and the fruit emerges when the internal preparation is complete. Your desires function by the same law. The period between wanting something and seeing it appear externally is not empty waiting. It is active preparation. The time during which you grow into the version of yourself who can naturally, sustainably hold what you are asking for. What looks like delay is very often something else entirely. It is arrangement. It is the invisible ordering of conditions, circumstances, and alignments that need to be in place before what you desire can arrive in a form that will actually serve you. The fruit that falls from the tree before it has ripened is not a gift. And life, which has an intelligence that exceeds what your conscious mind can fully grasp, rarely forces things to arrive before the preparation that makes them meaningful and lasting is complete. This does not mean you are passive in the process. Your inner state, your consistency of assumption, your willingness to inhabit the feeling of what you desire as though it is already real, is precisely what orchestrates the timing. When your inner world is tense and contracted around the question of when, that tension creates a kind of resistance that slows everything down. But when you genuinely release the urgency, when you settle into a state of calm trust and allow yourself to live from the feeling of already having what you desire, the resistance dissolves. And in that dissolution, things move, not always immediately, not always in the form you expected, but with a precision and an appropriateness that reveals itself clearly when you look back on it from the other side. Trust this process, not because it is comfortable to do so, but because the evidence of your own life, when you examine it honestly, consistently shows that things arrived exactly when you were genuinely ready to receive them. For too long, many people have been conditioned to believe that the most virtuous way to exist in the world is to continuously prioritize everyone else's comfort above their own, to always say yes, to smooth over conflict, to shrink themselves in order to keep the peace. But this pattern, however well-intentioned it may be, carries a cost that compounds over time. When you consistently place everyone else's needs above your own without any genuine reciprocity, you begin to gradually lose contact with yourself, with your own preferences, your own boundaries, your own sense of what you actually need and value. You give steadily and without limit, and when the appreciation you expected does not materialize in proportion to what you have offered, resentment begins to accumulate beneath the surface. Kindness is genuinely important, but there is a profound difference between generosity that flows from a full and grounded sense of self and the compulsive people-pleasing that flows from a fear of rejection or a deep uncertainty about your own worth. One is a gift freely given. The other is a form of slow self-abandonment disguised as virtue. Learning to say no, clearly, calmly, without excessive apology or justification, is not a failure of kindness. It is a necessary act of self-respect. It signals that you understand your time, your energy, and your presence to have genuine value that deserves to be protected rather than surrendered by default to whoever happens to ask. When you stop seeking validation from every direction and begin operating instead from a settled sense of your own worth, your relationships change fundamentally. You attract people who respond to authenticity rather than performance. Your interactions become more genuine because you are no longer filtering yourself through the question of what will make others most comfortable with you. You stop overgiving to people who have demonstrated repeatedly that they will not reciprocate. You stop shrinking yourself into whatever shape seems most acceptable in a given social context. And while this shift may initially feel uncomfortable, both for you and for the people who were accustomed to a version of you that was easy to take from, over time it produces something that excessive agreeableness never could: genuine respect. The confidence that grows from knowing your own worth, protecting your own boundaries, and making your decisions from a place of authentic self-knowledge rather than from fear of disapproval, is qualitatively different from any confidence that depends on external validation. It is quiet, it is stable, it does not require constant reassurance because it is not rooted in other people's opinions. And as this confidence develops, life begins to reflect it. The opportunities that arise align more naturally with who you actually are. The people in your life increasingly reflect the authenticity you are inhabiting. Everything becomes more real, more fitting, more genuinely yours, because it is now being built on the foundation of who you actually are, rather than who you believed others needed you to be. What sits beneath all of this, beneath the morning stillness, the conscious intention setting, the release of external validation, the trust in timing, the willingness to inhabit your authentic worth, is a fundamental shift in identity. Not a change in what you do, but a change in who you believe yourself to be, at the level where it actually matters. In the quiet space of your own awareness, when no one is watching and nothing is being performed. Most people direct their energy at changing their outer circumstances while leaving the inner source of those circumstances completely untouched. They adjust behaviors and chase outcomes and try to manage timing and other people, all of which addresses effects while leaving the cause entirely intact. But when the inner world shifts, when the assumption you are living from changes at a deep and genuine level, the outer world begins to rearrange itself with a kind of quiet precision that feels almost mysterious until you understand the mechanism behind it. From this inner shift, everything else follows. Not all at once, not always dramatically, but steadily and with an appropriateness that accumulates over time into a life that feels genuinely aligned with who you actually are. You stop feeling behind because you understand that you are never behind. You stop waiting for the right moment because you understand that you are always creating the moment through the state you inhabit. You stop asking for permission to be fully yourself because you understand that the self you are is already complete, already sufficient, already exactly what is needed. And from that understanding, everything becomes possible.